shortly with the Senior Assistant to the President on Diaspora Matters, Honorable Wike Dabiri Erewa, should be joining us live on the line. And also, we have the Zonal Commander of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, Mr. Ganiu Alao Agara, who will be joining us, who is with us right here in the studio this very morning. But then let's see, we should just start with the Zonal Commander of NAPTIP to start with before we are joined by Abike Dabiri Erewa to join us on the program this morning. Well, tell me, what do you say should, was responsible for this huge rise in human trafficking across the African continent? Nigerians, seems to be to constitute a large number of those trafficking and those who are trafficked.
Good morning. I want to say congratulations once again to Rave for coming up to 2 years of existence. And I want to join numerous Nigerians to say congratulations to you, Rave. And on this note, I also want to say that I want to say good morning to all Nigerians. And the issue at hand is such that it gives concern to everybody, especially well-meaning Nigerians. Looking at what has happened 3 weeks back, it's so pathetic that we have to lost our guests the way we did. And I want to also say that prior up to now, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has been doing a lot. And this is just one of the things that we see in the course of our girls, our young boys going abroad for greener pasture, the so-called greener pasture. And for us as an agency, we were set up in 2003 by the Act of Parliament, and we have an enabling law that is backing our operations. And in 2015, we also have a new act for the agency that broaden our horizon, given the various trends that we have now on trafficking. And before I go on, I want to say that trafficking on its own has to do with the illegal movement of people from one place to another. It could be internal, it could also be external. And the one we witnessed recently is external trafficking. And it is so pathetic that some of this trafficking comes about, and you see a lot of people being deceived, because the recruiters now, they will never tell them the truth of what they actually wanted them to go and do abroad. Some could be for sexual exploitation, some could be for organ harvesting, which we have discovered is the recent most terrible thing that happens.
Organ harvesting.
Organ harvesting. Organ harvesting. It's one of the most terrible things that happens now. And what we see most times is that these girls are deceived, these boys are deceived, all in the name of getting a job for them abroad. And by the time they get there, it becomes a different scenario.
All right. Okay, well, I'd like you to hold on a bit, because we're joined live on the line now by the Senior Assistant to the President on Diaspora Matters, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa. Thank you so much for joining us on Frank Talk this morning on Rave 91.7 FM.
Yes, morning.
Thank you. Well, this issue of trafficking in persons, of Nigerians were losing their lives over what they have been in search. Some Nigerians looking for greener pastures in some of those current countries. This case of the 26 or reported 26 Nigerians who lost their lives in Italy, who have now been buried. Many Nigerians feel that the Nigerian government has not done enough really to actually handle that matter. But they said there was no Nigerian at the burial of those particular girls.
Well, first, we have an agency responsible for trafficking, that is NAPTIP. As I speak with you, the DG of NAPTIP is in Italy. And she had planned the trip in such a way that she will be in Italy, continue to engage with the authorities, get the report and all that, and then wait for the burial on the 26th of November, which is the date Italy communicated with NAPTIP that they will bury the girls. So I watched on television just like you do. So did the embassy and NAPTIP officials. Just saw that they were buried on the 17th of November, which was 9 days earlier. So just yesterday, myself, along with the director, legal NAPTIP, I've had to ask the Italian embassy why they buried those girls earlier than they told us. Now, 2 mothers have shown up as I speak with you, and they said when they got information that 2 of their children were on that journey, and they want to bury them at home. So we're going to seek answers from the Italian embassy. As I said, the DG NAPTIP is currently in Italy on the same matter. So the fact was that no embassy official was there, no NAPTIP official was there, because let's face it, the best we can do for them is honor them in death. And so we raised those questions yesterday. And then again, as of this morning, 3 of the dead are confirmed to be Nigerians. We're still waiting about the other, but as I speak with you today, 3 are said to be Nigerian girls. And in fact, the names are out, and because you need to tell the family first, you don't want to put it out there in the media. So I think NAPTIP is communicating with them, and then we'll take it from there. So you cannot blame the Nigerian government for not being at the function they were not aware of. But again, as we said, why we warn Nigerians that these journeys are not worth them. The boats are getting smaller. They're getting more dangerous. And then also, those at the other end, on the European end, are not willing to save any migrants anymore. They are going through their challenges in Europe. So if you survived it 5 years ago, you probably won't survive it today. And then again, in line with President Buhari's directive, this government has received almost 6,000 migrants back to Nigeria. They've been stranded in Libya for years. They've been imprisoned there. They've been handled. They've been dehumanized. They've been crying. And President Buhari instructed that come back if you want to come back voluntarily. And they've been doing that with IOM, International Organization for Migration. And so almost 6,000 have been returned back home. And as they come home, we tell states to, they profile them, and your state, Edo states only, actually, and Katsina states have been taking care of their citizens as they return, while some stay in NAPTIP shelters, go through rehabilitation, get NGOs to work with them, and see how much can be done for them. So really, it's a sad, pathetic issue, but trust NAPTIP, trust this administration will be on top of the matter. Well,
it appears that those states, is particularly famous for this. Is your office talking to parents in that particular state?
Pardon?
I'm saying it appears that those states is infamous for this trafficking, especially for prostitution here.
No. That is a mistake we all make. It's not an Edo problem, it's a national problem. Yes. And the demographics are different. Italy, all those places, you have more of Edo Delta. Places like Burkina Faso, Mali, the girls you see on the streets are mainly Yoruba speaking. And when you now go to places like Cairo, Saudi Arabia, you find them more from the north. So Edo has, because Edo has been stigmatized about this, this particular governor has done so much to discourage Edo indigenous, as well as ensure that when they come back, right from the airport, Edo State takes them to Benin, rehabilitates them, provides for them, and then engages them in gainful employment. But it's a national problem, it's not an Edo, and it's always been. But we just say Edo. So yes, majority Edo Delta in the Italian, in the European part. But the other parts of the world, where there has been this issue too, but not much being talked about, also have citizens of other countries. And in fact, the 2 so far, whose names have been identified, are, I think, from Imo State.
That's actually even interesting here, because if you look at you're saying you've only been able to confirm just 3 of these 26 young ladies to be Nigerians. How did you come to determine that? Because the general report was that the 26 of them were actually Nigerians.
That's the report from Italy. So that is why what we first did was, okay, we condole, we are sad about these 26 girls. They said they were Nigerians. It's okay. Even if they are not Nigerians, they're Africans. They are our daughters. They are girls. And Nigeria has the largest population in Africa. So it's not even a surprise that everything you say Nigeria. But so far, as I speak with you, as at yesterday, only three have been identified as Nigerians. So we are waiting. Like I said, the DG Naptip is right now in Italy. She's on top of this situation, and I'm sure when she comes back, she has a lot to tell Nigerians.
So, there's another worrisome, dimension to this trafficking in Libya. In fact, the latest reports show there's a CNN exclusive about Africans being sold off as slaves. Some of them are certain Nigerians. If Libya is the route and, Sahara Desert, why can't Nigeria kind of have a roadblock in Libya before some of these people even access the Mediterranean, or even before they get to Libya?
Yeah, you see, they are not as straightforward as you're saying. It's not like the straightforward route. They go through Chad, Niger, Agadez, before you get to Agadez, Libya, and all that. So it's not as straightforward. Although immigration is doing all they can to tighten porous borders, but I'll tell you one thing that is even more dangerous now. By the time you find your way to Libya, right, that's your last destination in Africa before you move to Europe. Now, some countries in Africa, like Niger, have signed an MOU with the European Union. When you get there, when they catch you now, they are taking you to Niger and some other countries. So they won't do anything with you. They won't send you back. They will take you to Niger. When you get there, you start applying for asylum. You want asylum? Apply for asylum in Niger. By the time you stay in Niger for years, nobody will tell you to return to your country. So again, we'll have to let Nigerians know that this MOU has been signed. In fact, I think it should be already in place. So now what happens is, when you even go on these dangerous journeys, you are not 99% likely to get to Europe with this new agreement with some countries in Africa. So I think what we did now is massive awareness. And for the issue of CNN about Libya selling as slaves, we've always known that, but there was no evidence. Those who went will come back and say, well, this happened. But now CNN showed a clip which seems authentic. And again, that's another thing. You are running away to become a slave. And no matter what, no matter how terrible you're, and let me tell you something. People say it's higher now. It's not higher now. It's just that the world is paying more attention. Rather, President Buhari is bringing them back. And then, because it usually was an African problem, now it's a world problem. With wars and conflicts all over the world, it's a problem for the world. Before it was solved just on blacks dying at sea. Now it's a serious problem all over the world with conflict, terrorism, and all that. So basically, we should take it as a serious world problem. The UN already is working on coming up with something that will be binding on member states, just like the SDGs, and the final product should be adopted in New York in July. So again, I think things are going on, but most importantly for us as Nigerians is to do what you're doing. Sensitize. For every person who is trafficked, a trafficker is being empowered. Those trips cost money. You spend nothing less than $4,000 to $6,000 to go on that illusion that is a disaster.
Well, just like we have in the drug cartel, the drug cartel, there are people behind some of those traffickers. They are the traffickers themselves, the people who are their sponsors. Is government also looking to untangle that particular aspect? Maybe deal, arrest them, prosecute them?
If I write down, there are about 13 courts. The court process is a bit long and cumbersome. But NAPTIP has apprehended quite a few, and I think about 30 cases are in court for prosecution. And NAPTIP also has a whistleblower policy. So if you know a trafficker, report that trafficker. But that trafficker is destroying our children, our youth, our people. So yes, a lot of that is going on. Yes, we can do better. Yes, it can be strengthened, but we need the support of every Nigerian for whatever information about traffickers. But according to NAPTIP, almost about 30 are in court for prosecution.
Well, these traffickers shop for praise right in Nigeria. Do you think we need to embark on a massive campaign in this regard?
Oh, yes, that's what I just told you. Absolutely. Which NAPTIP is actually working on with the LOA, military information. So that actually is key. Because those going on the route are actually ignorant. They just promise you a world of dollars and big money, but it's a lie. is a trafficker, just like the drug baron, and is being empowered. So that is very important. What does a 14-year-old know? What does a 16-year-old know? But they just tell you, okay, you're going to get work, and then you get there are no jobs anyway. Even when you do the job, somebody takes the money on your behalf. And really, there's nothing good about all these things.
There are people also believe that no matter how, we say it, that the blame still comes back to our government in Nigeria here. He's saying, well, if the economy of the country is good, maybe these people will not need to go.
Yes, government must play its role, providing jobs, giving a better life for its citizens, which this administration is trying to do in the last 2 years, and will only get better. No matter how hard this administration tries, it will take a while to see results, which we're beginning to see. But what do you say of the person who sold everything he had, made 4 million naira, paid traffickers, and went on this journey? It's one of those President Buhari has brought back. He has nothing now. There are tales of war. So yes, times are hard. Times will even get harder. But that is not the solution. I think that is the message. Government has a responsibility. Like somebody said, even one of those who was brought back said there was a program, I think one of these programs by government where he got, I think, 2 billion naira, to do a small business. He used that to just pay a tax and went on this journey. They tell their stories. What we need to do again is have them tell their stories more directly from their mouths to the public. So the more you hear the stories, the more you know that it's just traffickers did everything to enhance their trade. These traffickers are rich. And those being trafficked are poor. If they are alive, they're even lucky. A lot of them are even dead.
All right, well, just before I let you go, Ma, the issue of job opportunities in Dubai, in the UAE, in Malaysia, and what have you, there are many, traveling agencies and job agencies now. What advice have you to Nigerians? Maybe if some of these are genuine, how do they look out for genuine ones and so as not to fall prey again?
Well, I can't really tell how you look out for genuine ones. It's difficult to tell, but there are indeed genuine ones out there.
But have you received complaints of people falling prey to such ones also?
And then you get to Cairo, you realize that there's no football to play. Now the problem is you are now stranded. The virtual one-way ticket. You are there's no football. The next thing is you now do drugs or something dangerous. I think that is the major problem. So that is an area NAPTIP, immigration, NEMA, Refugee Commission must focus on. So yes, that's why I said that a lot of victims are victims of ignorance. No girl just goes out there and say, they won't tell you you're going to be a prostitute. They won't tell you you're going to give you drugs. They tell you, come, there's work for you. Don't matter what you're doing here, come with us. And then you get there, there's nothing. So that is where we have to really work on. That way I'm sure the message can get to the next person who might just be a victim of a trafficker. And the most importantly, the traffickers must be named and shamed and jailed.
All right, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning, Ma. Honorable Abike Dabiri-Rewa, the Senior Assistant to the President on Diaspora Matters. We thank you so much for joining us on Frank Talk this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so she joins us live on the line from Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory there. Honorable Abike Dabiri-Rewa speaking with us on a wide range of issues, especially as regards migration and, this issue of trafficking in persons. We still have with us the Zonal Commander of NAPTIP, Mr. Ganiya Agaran, joining with us live in the studio here. Well, you heard what Honorable Abike Dabiri-Rewa, as I said there. It seems your agency has a lot of duties, a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
We're going to stem this tide.
Yes, there is a lot. I want to tell you that the agency that was established in 2003, we operate a 5P policy, and then that is the way. Those are some of the ways we carry out our operations and our activities. And the first of this is what we call the policy. The second is the protection. The third is the prevention. The fourth is the prosecution. And the final one is partnership. These are some of the areas, these are some of the thematic areas in which we go about our duties. And like I said, the policies, the agency has brought up a lot of policies. Like we have, for instance, the National Referral Mechanism that was brought up in 2015. We have in 2008 the protection and assistance to victims in former care that was brought up in 2004, and in 2008 we have also the national the protection and assistance to victims, the national policy on protection and assistance to victims. These are some of the policies that the agency has brought up to assist traffic victims. And like I said initially, I said when you look at trafficking, most of the people involved, there is a lot of deceit going on. Some of them are recruited through deceit means. They are told they have good job for them over there, but at the end of the day, you discover that there are no jobs there. And they are also, while they are recruiting them, they also do one thing: they don't collect money from them. They bear their transportation costs, they bear everything, and by the time they get there, they are made to pay a lot of money back. And don't also forget that this trafficking could take a lot of dimensions. It could be for forced labor, it could be for prostitution, it could be for organ harvesting, like I said earlier. Then the second P has to do with protection. What we do is that we have to protect the victims. And how do we protect them? We have a shelter in the agency. Once they are rescued, we put them in our shelter. And in our shelter, they also go through a lot of vocational trainings. They go through bead making, hat making. Some even go to school. As I speak with you, NATWI has about 3 or 4 of our guests that have graduated from the university, two recently. And these are the ones that showed interest of going to school. So these are some of the things we do in our protection.
Well, just like 2 days ago, your Director General,
Yes.
Julie Okadonil,
Yes.
talked about, well, maybe intelligence that your agency got, that there seems to be a recruitment drive around this time, up to the Yuletide season, for persons to be trafficked to those parts again, Libya and the likes. What are you doing to arrest and to ensure that such drive does not see the reality of the day?
That is the reality we see. Mostly towards the end of the year, we have a lot of things coming on. We have either the ones coming back to Nigeria and the ones going out. At this period, it is actually November, December, is actually to January, early January, is actually our peak period. And like I said earlier, the last of our P has to do with partnership. You quite agree with me that NAPTIP alone cannot do this thing. We cannot be the only one to do this. And in relation to that, we are in close collaboration with the Nigerian Immigration Service, with the Civil Defense, Nigerian Civil Defense, Security and Civil Defense Corps, with the Nigerian Police, and we work all hand in hand. They are not even only the only one, the DSS, and we also have some foreign partners that we also work with. And these are some of the things that we do in our collaboration and in our partnership drive. And like the issue that you raised now, as I speak with you now, we have some of our officers in the Lagos Zonal Command that are in the airport. Through the effort of the British government. We call it the JBTF, Joint Border Task Force. And they are in the airport right now, and they do a lot of background checks. When they see some of these little children that are going out, they do a lot of things on them to find out if they are going genuinely, if they are not being trafficked. These are some of the things we do.
Okay, well, we seem to focus mainly on external trafficking, taking people to Libya, to Egypt, to those maybe some of those Arab countries. But then even locally here, are there not instances of trafficking? Some people have raised flag about house helps, house girls, and house boys. At what point does it become trafficking in persons?
Well, most of the ones we have, especially the one that has to do with the issue of house help, what we frown at in NAPTIP is you don't allow underage girls or underage boys to be domestic servants. Underage girl, underage boys, maybe from 10, 11, 12, 13 years, thereabout. The law is so stiff now that if you have an underage working with you as a domestic servant, it becomes a trafficking. When you have a house help in your house, you are not paying your house help directly. Somebody is benefiting from the sweat of that house help. it becomes a trafficking issue. Exploitation has come in, and there is no way you can. The moment there is exploitation, there is trafficking. That is the way it goes.
No, well, you know, there are agencies who say they help you facilitate, they help you recruit domestic staff. You know, who say, okay, if you need a domestic help, and they will not be underage, that will help you get that sorted. Are you saying these run foul of the Nigerian law?
It's
When they get they get a certain commission of the person's salary.
It is against the law. It is against the law in the sense that if you work, you must be the one to earn your wages. It has now become a case of monkey they work, baboon they shop, so to say in pidgin. Now, we have a lot of this going on, but a lot of people are ignorant. They don't know. And the agency was formally inaugurated, officially commissioned in Oshogbo on the 9th of August. And since then, I must tell you, we have had 14 cases.
14?
Being investigated, transferred to us by our sister law enforcement agencies. The Oshogbo Zonal Command covers Oshogbo, Ondo, Ekiti, and by extension, Kwara. And in all of this, we have had 25 victims that are rescued by NAPTIP. 25 victims that are rescued. Those cases are being investigated. They are almost at the completion stage. And by the time we are through with our investigation, it will be charged to court, and some of these culprits will be brought to justice. And those are some of the things we are saying. The issue is that when you have an underage guest or an underage boy working for you, the law is against it, number one. Then number two, what are you doing to empower the life of that person? Are you putting that girl or that boy to learn vocational training? Are you putting that boy or girl to go to school? The moment you are able to do this, you are empowering that girl. And don't also forget, you are empowering that girl or boy. And don't also forget that as you are also doing that, you should pay that person directly, because in a way you are contributing to his livelihood. You are not making him to be in poverty without end. So these are what we are saying. If you want to get a house help, make sure whichever house help you are getting is above the age of 18 years. And not only that, you also do something to empower that your house help. Send either for your house help to go for vocational training.
It's not wrong to get a house help in itself.
It is not wrong. But what the law is saying is that when you have a house help, number one, you should not pay the rent of that house help to a third party. Because the moment you pay the rent of that house help to a third party, exploitation has come in. It has become a case of that somebody benefiting from the sweat of that person. Number one. Then number two, also make sure the age of that person you are recruiting or you are employing as house help is above 18. And thirdly, also make sure that whoever you recruit as house help is not maltreated. Because the moment the person is maltreated, it has become a different dimension now. The last thing is that you must also empower that person. The person will either learn a vocation or either go to school, so that at the end of the day, he or she doesn't continue in that line forever. By doing that, you are doing something to bring him back to life, and also to make him or her earn a living thereafter.
So NAPTIP opened office in Oshun for the Oshun Command.
Oshun Command, which covers those states. 4
states. Now, tell me, from your findings in these past few months, how prevalent is this issue of trafficking in persons in Oshun?
The major one we have here has to do with the issue of domestic servants. Those are the major ones we have discovered here. And there is also a new dimension, according to what you asked the other time. We have seen from intelligence now, we have seen a lot of cases of recruitment agency coming on board now to advertise. And we are doing something on that. For now, we have started working on that. And by the time we have a breakthrough, you also get to hear it. Because some of these things is done covertly. You don't need to tell the public what you are doing. But we are doing a lot because we have seen a lot of that coming up now. And intelligence has also revealed to us that we need to also do something on that.
Agencies for domestic staff.
Not only for domestic servants, not only for that. Recruitment agency also for abroad, for foreign jobs. These are what we are saying. Especially United Arab Emirates. Those are the dimension we are seeing now. Some of them will say they are recruiting you to be a driver. Some of them will say we are recruiting you to be a nanny and stuff like that. So those are some of the things we are witnessing now. And we started working on that. And by the time we have a breakthrough, you get to know.
Well, I'm sure people back home, we have so much to say, about this. We have so much contributions to make. We'll open the phone lines for you shortly. But then we should still look at, one more area. How do you stop this? Because it's getting rampant, as it were. And then there are many people who are even involved who don't know that they're actually maybe enabling this particular issue. There are people who will come and say, let me help you take care of your son. Let me help you take care of your daughter. Let me help you take care of this person. How do we notice? How do we identify and say, okay, this is a potential threat. So this is a potential trafficking situation. And then how do we stop it?
The way it goes is this. Most of these recruiters are close family relatives. I must tell you that they are close family relatives. And they come to the people involved now, they come to them all in the pretense that they want to help them. They want a better life for their child or their boy. But what they don't know is that a lot of things are hidden. They will never tell you they are taking your child abroad for prostitution. They will never tell you that. Or for house help, or for nanny. They will never tell you that. They will just tell you that they have come to assist you. They have come to better the life of your girl. But by the time you now discover that they will not ask you for money, and the one that they will even ask you for money, it will not be a big amount of money. It is when this person gets to that place, they will now say, we have brought you here. This is the amount you have to pay me. You have to pay me 30 million euro. You have to pay me 20 million euro. And in cases like that, they will now send the girl to be into prostitution. And you can imagine somebody sleeping with 20 to 25 men in a day just to make that money. And to even make the matter worse, by the time he or she is trying to pay, when it remains little for him or her to pay, you will now discover that the girl will be set up and like going out to buy something, and before you know, the law enforcement agents of that area will arrest him or her, put him in jail, and from there he or she comes back to Nigeria. That is the trick that they do. But you discover that the people that are actually involved are close family relatives, and they will never tell you what they want to do with your child.
So, what is about this Saudi Arabia recruitment drive, and then also same as regards Dubai and the UAE? It seems there's a major, thing drawing people. There seems to be something good coming out of it. I mean, for many people who are willing to go there, it seems that's a major catch nowadays. You
see what there is something we call in our agency that we call the pull-the-push factors. The pull and the push factors. You see why most of these people are going is that there is a lot of high demand for cheap labor in some of these countries. And you also find out that you have an interlinking person in that country, and you also have somebody in Nigeria. So don't also forget that it's also a clandestine activities. Some of these things go on undiscovered. It is only when it becomes blown open that everybody gets to know what is actually happening. Now, why some of them will want to go is that they will attract them with the fact that you can make as much as 300,000 naira when it is converted on a monthly basis. And when they look at this, 300,000 naira, 400,000 naira, it is an impetus for them to also want to go abroad. They also want to go to those countries. And what we discover especially in these Arab countries, is that most of our girls that are going there, they go there in disguise. Some of them, they are not Muslims, but they dress as if they are Muslims. And it is an Arab country, and most of what they have to do has to fall in line with the Islamic injunctions. So some of them, they dress in such a way that you think they are actually Muslims. But it is when they get there, and by the time they start asking questions here and there, they get to know some of them are not Muslims. So these are some of the things that happen. And by the time they are there, they are permanently put in a place. They are also made to work 24 hours, non-break. And if they are going to even be given an off, it will be just a day for a whole week. Monday to Sunday, it will just be a day. And they are not, the irony of it is that they are not allowed to go out of that environment. They are not allowed to go out.
So, I mean, it's working in inhuman conditions.
Yes, in a human condition. That is what we see. Because we have had a lot of these girls. I was actually, before now, I was the head of operation in Lagos Zonal Command. Before Lagos Zonal Command was splitted into two, where we now have Osogbo covering the other part of southwestern state. Now, the experience has been that there are a large number of these people that are brought from Libya, Mali, Ivory Coast, a large number of them. For this year alone, we have had thousands, like the SSA said earlier, we have had thousands. There is no week that the Lagos Zonal Command don't have up to 500 plus. Last week they still have about 500
back from Libya.
Coming back from Libya with the effort of IOM, International Organization for Migration. They are the one assisting. And what we do is that when most of these guests come back, we try to profile them. We try to see if we can get their traffickers. We try to do a lot of things so that at the end of the day, those that we can really actually get their traffickers, we do further investigation on them. And some of them that are ready to stay with the agency to either learn a vocational training, we put them through some of these skills. Through some of these skills, and at the end of the day, they are empowered. Just last week Friday, 30 were empowered in Lagos through the effort of through the help and collaboration of United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. So these are some of in this, by the end of this week now, in one of our command to Benin, there is still going to be a lot of empowerment that is going to take place there.
So, I mean, it's a huge problem for us.
It is a huge problem. It is a huge problem, and it's becoming alarming by the day. That is the problem we are facing.
All right, well, let's open the phone lines. Our people back home, definitely we have one or two things to contribute really to this very conversation. It's a disturbing trend, and we hope that we can just stem this tide so that we don't have young people with so much a bright future losing their lives on going on one elusive trip. Well, it's Abike Dabiri actually described it as an illusion, saying, well, what you're saying you're looking for really sometimes it's not really what you get at the end of the day. We're on the phone lines for you right now.
You can now join the conversation by calling 0703-175-9177, 0703-175-9177, and 0902-427-3808. You can equally make use of our social media platforms. For WhatsApp, 0703-175-9173, 0703-175-9173. Tweet at us at Rave917FM, and Facebook is Rave917FM. Do remember to turn down the volume on your radio set or move away from it. And please, let's keep our comments civil. Thank you.
Our first caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Ebenezer, I'm calling from Ukuku.
Idowu from Ukuku. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. I would like to ask the resource person there, please, what they're doing about those ones that are using diabolical means. I mean, sometimes if you you want to travel out and then you go to such people and they ask you to swear on oath. How have they been able to actually talk to those type of girls or boys that have been made to swear on their oath that they're not going to give out their identity if they're eventually caught? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name? We're calling from?
I'm Pajobi Adekola, calling from Iduoshu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adekola.
I thank the speaker and the proactive measures that have been taken to restrict Nigerian youth from trafficking. I just want to use this medium to try to appeal to our government to put things in place. Nigerian youth are frustrated. You can imagine Nigerian youth graduating from university for over 5, 6, 7 years without having anything doing. It's out of frustration most of these people are taking that decision, and they are being mortgaged. If we could put our own home in order, that would be the best solution. Even millions of Nigerian youth are thinking of going out of the country now without know the consequence of it or where they are going to. I've been to Dubai and some other places. You see them even when we are coming back in the flight, people are lamenting that go to the UAE, that looking for a greener pasture. The way they are using them without giving them the good accommodation, working assiduously in the sunlight, and they are giving them peanuts. Nigerian youth are suffering. We're supposed to be a king in Africa, in the entire Africa. They're supposed to come and work here in Nigeria because you have everything that takes to be a great nation. Please and please, let the government do the right things. I know that is the only solution that can minimize this trafficking of the thing.
Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Please, when you call, let's ensure that the producer is kept low. Let's take some messages now. Shegon Mawumi writes, it's a pity that Nigerians emerged in this kind of situation. The major reason for government from the country to Asia, another part for the major reason for the movement from the country to Asia and other parts of the world as a result of unfavorable economic, political, and social atmosphere. My appeal to the government is to please ameliorate the situation in due course. And